Just 3 months after becoming one of the highest paid coaches in college football history, Curt Cignetti now makes more than Ryan Day at Ohio State and Georgia's Kirby Smart. Let's talk about how much money he is getting paid and why this is exactly what you would expect, even at a place like Indiana. What's up, kinfolk? It's RJ Young. I am not on a step mill. If this is your first time watching Adapt and Respond, thank you for joining us here. We talk college football year round. If you're into that, hit that subscribe button, like this video, and answer the question in the comments below. Did you expect Curt Cignetti to receive a raise to $13.2 million, up from $11.6 million in February after winning the national championship, but also after receiving a pay bump that was significant to begin with? Because some people would have said, yes, this is what agents are for. This is how this works. This is what the market looks like. Others would go, why? Well, as a matter of optics and as a matter of merit, this is exactly how it should go down. Curt Cignetti making $13.2 million through 2033. So no years added to his contract, but the amendment does pay him significantly more chunk of change. This is in line with what Lane Kiffin will make as LSU's head coach. His annual salary is just north of $13 million, about $13.1 to $91 million over 7 years. And we know that Kirby Smart signed a contract with Georgia that pays him $130 million over 10 years. And Ryan Day received a 7-year contract with an annual salary of $12.5 million after he led Ohio State to the national championship in 2024. This also comes about because there is a clause in Signetti's contract that demands that there's a market review that pays him in line with what he has done at Indiana, which is pretty significant, right? The review takes into account how much money is publicly known to be made and will pay Signetti proportionally. This was really designed to ensure that he remains one of the top compensated coaches in the sport. And the guy that pioneered this kind of a deal is actually Nick Saban. Nick Saban, for who we get a lot of our contract templates from as it relates to head coaches. First, it was Steve Spurrier, became $1 million coach in 1996. And then, well, LSU did what only LSU does. They blew the market apart to go get Nick Saban from Michigan State to LSU. And in so doing, there were parts of his contract put together that allowed for him to be paid in accordance with what he accomplishes at Alabama. And if he was the best coach in college football, they paid him like the best coach in college football. Same thing is true of Kirby Smart. Same thing is true of, you go down the line, guys that haven't won the national championship here recently, like Clemson's Dabo Swinney. He was one of the highest paid, is still one of the highest paid coaches in the sport. Alabama with Kalen DeBoer, he was coming off of being a national title runner-up. Jim Harbaugh was going to get a bump after winning the 2024 national championship before choosing to opt for the NFL. But this should not shock anybody about just how this has come about for Signetti, who is in his late 60s now, and in his late 60s put together the best season college football history, 16-0, first team to do that since 1894 Yale. The NCAA wasn't around. We hadn't fought 2 world wars. Like, we could keep going on about all the things that had happened between winning a national championship going 16-0 in 1894 and winning a national championship going 16-0 in 2025. Like, it's really, really interesting to take a look at it. Plus, somehow we got back to, we don't need to play that many college football games after Yale put together this schedule that is ridiculously awesome and barnstorming. We just started playing 12-game regular seasons in 2006 in FBS, and we extended our postseason format from a BCS national championship game in the New Year's Six Bowls to a college football playoff that features the best 4 teams to a college football playoff that features the best 12 teams. And it looks, for all that we're going to, at some point in the very near future, extend the bracket to 16 or even 24 teams. I think knowing that Signetti has been able to accomplish this at Indiana has also moved the goalposts for a lot of programs that felt for years that they were better programs than Indiana, and rightfully so. Until earlier last year, Indiana was the losingest program in Power 4, period. It wasn't close, hadn't won a Big Ten championship or share of one since the 60s, hadn't won one outright since the 1940s, did it over the top of the number one team in the country's head in Ohio State, and ran through Alabama, who came back from 17 down on the road to beat Oklahoma, and more or less took apart Oregon, and then just seemed to be kind of in a class of their own as the game was coming to an end against Miami. I am still moved by just what that program was able to do and how awakened, let's make sure we use those words correctly, how this awakened the Indiana fan base for now people understand, what happens if you start winning with the largest living alumni base in the country? You will get so much support. And while Signetti's tried to downplay the amount of money that he has been able to raise for NIL, seeing guys like Mark Cuban, a billionaire, not only on your sideline, but is an alumnus, only feeds into the legend of just what you might be able to accomplish. And each year he's been able to level up at the quarterback position. First going Curtis Rourke, who was outstanding, to Fernando Mendoza, who became the first Heisman winner in Indiana football history after what is mostly a decent to middling career as a college football quarterback, to one of the greats, right? Given what he was able to engineer in just 1 year. Now he's got Josh Hoover heading into what is going to be his kind of chapter 3, and not really knowing what is behind him, because we know that Alberto Mendoza transferred to Georgia Tech. So we'll see. It's a lot to put on Josh Hoover's shoulders, but we also got the Broyles Award winner in Bryant Haynes as your defensive coordinator. Mike Shanahan's doing a great job as the offensive coordinator. It's all going Signetti's way, and it should. And it seems that at this point, Indiana is investing even more into its football program, trying to make it even bigger. Fiscal revenue for football specific was $81 million in 2024. Expect that to be blown the hell up by the time we get to the end of the fiscal year for 2025. And again, if I don't say the quiet part out loud, Indiana is expected to contend for the college football playoff and perhaps defend its national championship. So $13 million annually, more than Ryan Day, more than Kirby Smart, basically in line with Lane Kiffin, who hasn't beaten anything, or shouldn't beaten anything, hasn't won any national championship to speak of, like those other two guys, just LSU doing what LSU does. But if you are Curt Cignetti's agent, you're going, thanks, LSU. Now, Indiana, pony up. And Indiana's going, we'll stroke a check. And that's really cool.